The book I will be reading today is titled Deserts. This is a nonfiction book. Chapter 1, Exploring the Desert. If you take a trip to South America and stop by Chile's Atacama Desert, don't bother packing an umbrella. You won't need a raincoat either. Why? In the Atacama, less than 5/10 inches of rain falls each year. Some parts have not had rain in more than 400 years. This desert is sometimes called the driest place on earth. What is a desert? Most people think of deserts as sandy, hot, and dry places. Some deserts are sandy, but others are rocky or even icy. Some deserts are hot. Others, however, are very cold. What makes an area a desert is how much rainfall or precipitation it receives each year. A desert often loses more water through evaporation than it receives through rainfall. Rare rain. Deserts receive less than 10 inches of rain each year. How does that compare to other places? Roughly 31 inches of rain fall on Toronto, Canada, in the same amount of time. Savannah, Georgia gets 50 inches per year, and much of Florida receives 50 to 65 inches. There are a dozen major deserts scattered across the world. They are found on every continent except Europe. Some deserts are larger than others. At 5.4 million square miles, Antarctica is the world's largest desert. Does that surprise you? It shouldn't, because the continent gets little precipitation. The Sahara Desert in Africa covers 3.3 million square miles. Chapter 2, With Sand and Wind. How do deserts form? It depends on the type of desert. One kind is formed when moist air near the equator rises, eventually forming precipitation. After losing its moisture, the air moves north or south. It sinks and it warms up. This hot air settles in or blows across regions where deserts are found. There is very little humidity in the hot air. This is how deserts such as the Sahara formed. Other types of deserts. Some deserts are called rain shadow deserts. They form near mountains. The mountains block rain from reaching the land past them. Only dry air reaches the other side. This is how the Gobi Desert in China was created. Another type of desert is found in very cold places. Temperatures are so low the air cannot hold much water. Such deserts are found in Antarctica and Greenland. Mountains of sand. Sand dunes look like mountains, but are able to move and drift with enough wind. A dune is usually created by wind blowing in one direction. Grains of sand are pushed into a large pile. Dunes can grow to amazing sizes. Some are miles long and hundreds of feet tall. They form in a number of different shapes, and no two dunes are exactly alike. Finding an oasis. An oasis is an area of a desert with a source of fresh water. This water often comes from under the ground. These freshwater springs allow some plants and trees to grow. In turn, they provide shade from the sun and heat. Sometimes crops, such as lemons, are grown in oases. The Karga Oasis. In some deserts, communities and towns have formed around oasis areas. The Karga Oasis in the Sahara is one of the biggest in the world. It is more than 100 miles long. More than 60,000 people live around it. Some of them specialize in making baskets and mats out of the leaves of the palm trees growing there. The Desert Weather Report. Deserts are harsh places. The weather is extreme. When it is hot, it is very hot. Heat waves ripple up from the baked ground. When it is cold, it is very cold. The sun sets and the temperature drops fast. When the wind blows, it blows hard. Sandstorms fill the air with grainy bits. When it rains, it pours. A sudden cloud burst can release several inches of rain in a single hour. Man-made deserts, Chapter 3. Most deserts were created by nature over thousands of years. Humans, however, are responsible for making many deserts grow much larger. In fact, deserts all over the world are growing every year. This process is known as desertification. Desertification causes problems. It becomes harder to grow crops or raise animals on desertified land. Drinkable water becomes scarce. Recipe for a desert. In many areas near the edges of deserts, people cut down trees to use as firewood. They need the firewood for cooking and keeping warm. The cutting down of trees is called deforestation. Also, people have herds of animals such as goats and sheep. These animals eat any grass growing in the area. Overgrazing is when animals eat grasses in fields to the point of damaging the plants. The ground becomes bare and cannot hold water. Wind blows the soil away, and the land becomes a desert. Water and desertification. Another factor that can lead to desertification is irrigation. An area can become a desert when its water supply is pumped away. Water can be redirected from a natural source to water crops. Water can also be redirected to supply drinking water to communities. Sometimes the water contains salt. Salt builds up in the land, being supplied with the water. Eventually, the land cannot support plant growth. Stopping the spread. How can the spread of deserts be stopped? Experts are looking at many possible answers. Some people plant trees and bushes at the edge of deserts. This helps stop the wind from blowing away the soil. In the Tinger Desert in China, people put straw fences in the ground. This also helps stop the sand from spreading. Other ideas. What else can be done to help stop the growth of deserts? One idea is afforestation. This involves planting trees and grasses in key areas around the borders of deserts. Putting a fence around the new growth so that animals cannot get into it is also helpful. Teaching people about how to use water supplies and how not to is important too. Chapter 4, Home, Sweet Desert Home. Roughly 1 billion people on this planet call the desert their home. These people have found ways to survive in areas that have little water and extreme temperatures. They know where to find and grow food. They've learned what it takes to survive in some of the world's harshest places. Desert dress. Different desert peoples wear different kinds of clothing. Some wear modern clothes. Many wear more traditional clothing. This includes long sleeve, full-length robes of loose white fabric. The loose material allows breezes to cool the skin. The robes cover all but the hands and head. They protect the skin from the harsh sun. Some groups wrap long cloths around their heads and faces for protection from the sun. Keeping cool. The homes of desert people vary from place to place. In some areas, homes are built with thick walls. These walls absorb the sun's heat, helping it stay cool inside. During chilly nights, the warmed walls give off some of this heat. They help keep the interior, or inside, from being too cool. Nomads at home. Some people in the desert move from one place to another with their flocks of sheep and goats. They keep shifting in search of water and food. These people are called nomads. Some live in tents made of fabric. Others build huts out of clay or straw. Some groups leave the huts behind when they move on. A tent home. Many groups of people who move through the desert bring their homes with them. The people of the Gobi Desert, for example, live in a type of tent. A wooden framework is covered with a type of cloth called felt. The felt is made from sheep's wool. The structure can be rolled up and taken along with its traveling owners. Sun-dried brick. In the Sahara Desert, many homes are made out of bricks. People mix water with clay and dirt. The mixture is placed in a mold and allowed to dry in the sun. When the bricks are ready, they are used to build walls. More clay is used to paste the bricks into place. A bundle of sticks. In the Kalahari Desert in southern Africa, traditional homes of the Sand people are very simple. These shelters are often made of branches and dried grasses. When the people move on to another place, they give the house back to nature. Chapter 5, Wildlife Under the Sun. Do you think of deserts as lifeless places? Think again. Just as people have found ways to survive in the desert, so have many kinds of plants, insects, and animals. In fact, a number of fascinating species can be found in deserts around the world. Each has adapted to life where the weather is extreme and water is scarce. Plants. Most desert plants grow far apart, so they do not have to share what little water there is. Some plants, such as cacti, have shallow roots that spread out under the ground. This allows the roots to soak up water as fast as possible during those rare rainstorms. From plants to petroleum. Petroleum, or oil, is used to make gasoline and other products. Some of the world's most important oil supplies are found in deserts. These supplies have made certain desert nations wealthy. Many scientists believe that petroleum formed from the remains of marine plants and animals. Through extreme heat and pressure, the remains became petroleum. These changes took millions of years. Oil is usually deep underground and is reached by drilling. The hardy cactus. Some of the most amazing desert plants are cacti. They can store water in their stems. The saguaro cactus can soak up as much as 1 ton of water during a big storm. Its skin stretches to allow it to expand. The saguaro also grows very slowly. After 30 years, it may only be a few feet tall. 80 years later, it will still be growing. Waiting for rain. A number of flowers and plants in the desert start out as seeds that are just waiting for rain. They lie in the ground, often for years, until rain begins to fall. Then they spring into action. They sprout very fast. They grow, bloom, produce new seeds, and then die in a short time. After a heavy rain, the desert is a stunning sight full of color and beauty. Creepy crawlies. Arachnids, including spiders and scorpions, live in the desert and survive by getting water from the prey they capture. In some deserts, the trapdoor spider hides in a burrow with a hidden door. When a tasty snack stops nearby, the spider jumps out, grabs it, and drags it below. In other deserts, tarantulas nearly as large as a person's hand track down lizards, insects, and other prey. Other desert dwellers. How do other creatures survive in the desert? Many get water from what they eat. The roadrunner gets its water from the bodies of small snakes and lizards. Lizards get water from insects. In the Kalahari and Namib deserts, the gemsbok, a type of antelope, gets water by eating a melon called a sama. Other animals, such as the desert tortoise, can store extra water. More survival skills. Some animals survive in the desert by sleeping during the heat of the day. They are nocturnal, active at night when it is cooler. Some have light-colored fur, which soaks up less heat. Other creatures, such as certain foxes, have very large ears. These ears help release body heat. A desert is extreme. It is also quite beautiful. Perhaps most importantly, for many plants, animals, and people, it's home. And that is the book titled Deserts.